Hello, welcome to another boxing predictions video. This is Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. versus Canelo Alvarez. So on May 6th of this year, Canelo Alvarez and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. are squaring off at the combined, I think the catch weight of 165 pounds, if that's correct. Well, let's just say middleweight or submit division. So as you know, many people probably do know now like who both fighters are. Canelo Alvarez is the former WBA, WBC and Ring Magazine light middleweight champion, and the former WBC and Ring Magazine middleweight champion, and he's the current WBO light middleweight champion as well. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., so that's a mouthful, is the former WBA WBC middleweight champion. This fight is actually quite interesting on a few areas because many people, including myself, question even now why isn't Canelo Alvarez fighting Gennady Golovkin? If you don't know who Gennady Golovkin is, which I'd be very surprised if you don't, he's the current WBA, WBC, IBF, IBO middleweight champion. And last year or the year before, I think it was the year before, let's say 2015, yeah. At the end of 2015, Canelo Alvarez beat Miguel Cotto for the WBC and Ring Magazine middleweight titles, and of course towards that time as well, I think Golovkin was IBF champion and he was WBA and IBO middleweight champion as well, and people were talking about it, and for a couple of years now people have been speculating the rumours, videos, articles, interviews, everything to do with the fight, and it hasn't been happening for one reason or another, about weight or the purses or just silly things in comparison to what the fight would actually do. It would be a great fight. I still think Golovkin would win, but that's just my opinion. And since then, Alvarez has gone down to like middleweight division, and he fought former WBO titleist Liam Smith, and he won by a knockout, and I think in the 9th round. And no disrespect to Liam Smith, he's a good fighter, a solid fighter, but Alvarez, of course, is a much better fighter in a lot of areas. And many people just didn't really regard it as like a really good win or a massive win or a huge win that would make waves in the boxing community. People are still asking when is he going to fight Golovkin or maybe a bigger name than he's fighting at the minute, because beating Miguel Cotto is no easy task. But Cotto is towards the end of his career now. He's not the fighter he was, say, I don't know, 3-4 years ago when he was a bit more fresher, because I don't care what anyone says, unless you're like exceptionally good fighter, like Floyd Mayweather for example, you can keep fighting at a really top level until the end of your career, and sometimes it just catches up with the best of us. Look at Manny Pacquiao fighting at a high level for absolute years, and now he's starting to run out of steam. He's a lot different to he was a few years ago because age and wear and tear of boxing catch up to you. So he has beaten the likes of Miguel Cotto, and he's also beaten the likes of Austin Trout, who's a solid fighter. But if you look at his sort of resume or his career, he's beaten good fighters, but he's never beaten like maybe, I don't know, the best person in the division or something, or like he's, I don't know, beaten someone who you would think he would never beat, but he's given a shot. And of course he has lost one fight, which was Floyd Mayweather Jr. back in 2013, and he got outboxed from start to finish. But it was a really good learning curve for him, I think, and I think he's learned a lot from that loss, because he's gone on since then to beat the likes of Alfredo Angulo, Edison Lund, which is a sort of questionable decision win. So he has beaten the likes of them, and of course Miguel Cotto. But now Golovkin is on his sort of in his radar, or a big fight on the horizon, and it's never materialised. And when he beat Mia Khan last year by knockout, he invited Golovkin into the ring, and then there was interviews, and people thought, okay, let's begin to pick up steam, and then nothing. He went back to like middleweight division. But now he's actually fighting someone who's not like middleweight, or he's not a middleweight. He could be a heavyweight if he wants to, but he's fighting a solid, tough fighter in Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Now, Chavez Jr. of course did lose to Sergio Martinez back in 2012, which is a long time ago now, for the middleweight title. He got exposed because he was nowhere near as good as people thought he was. He had flaws before that fight and after that fight since. He has lost another fight since then. The guy he lost to was called Fonfara, I think. I can't pronounce his first name, by knockout. I think he was by knockout or the corner through Natal in the 10th round or towards the end of the fight back in 2015 at light heavyweight. And Chavez has been, one of his problems has always been his weight. When he was at middleweight and when he was a title holder, obviously the weight limit for that is 160 pounds, and he used to bring up in weight to like 170 or 180. I remember there was one fight, I think it was against Andy Lee, if I remember correctly. It might have been that one or maybe a fight before that. The weight limit of course is 160 and he was 181 pounds. That is ridiculously heavy. That's like a cruiserweight, which is insane. But for now the fight's been made, I think it'll be a true test of both of those, because they're both in sort of like a crossroads in their careers in different areas. Like Chavez Jr. is now 30. He's had his time to be world champion. He's had the losses. He's had the problems of weight. He's been injured and he's been in activity. And now I do think this could be his ticket back. Sorry, is his ticket back to the big time in the middleweight divisions or maybe higher division, because he is a good fighter. He's tough. He's strong. He's got a really good chin. Yes, obviously he lost to fighters that he shouldn't have lost to, like Farah, for example. If it was a few years ago, I think he would have blown him out of the water. But things happen. Of course, he got exposed by Martinez, and that's sort of where similarities compare. They've both been exposed by better skilled fighters. Nothing wrong with that, because like, if you've got limitations, no one's Superman. Like even Floyd Mayweather and Pacquiao got issues, but sometimes they don't show it. But for this fight, for Chavez to win, I think he has to go back to his old sort of style. Maybe if weight is a factor, but Canelo Alvarez is a solid fighter as well. He's not going to come in light because they're both solid fighters. But if Chavez wants to win this fight, he has to go in there and actually throw punches and go in there and believe in himself. Because sometimes when I watch him fight, he'll go in there and he'll seem like he's in control. And like for the Martinez fight, for example, like he easily could have gone in there and used his weight advantage, used the pressure, hit him everywhere, like body shots, head shots, and when he could, obviously, because Martinez was a very slippery fighter. But he just didn't, like, he believed in himself. And in this, I do think now this is a good opportunity to go in there and show people what he's made of. Same with Canelo Alvarez as well. Of course, the crossroads is a bit different. He's a lot younger than Chavez Jr. He could technically still be a world champion by the time this fight rolls around. So if he did lose, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It would be, but it wouldn't be, because he can still go back down to like middleweight and defend his belt and maybe pick up a few belts here and there. But I do think if he beats Chavez Jr., maybe the name doesn't hold as much as it did a few years ago, but if he beats him, it's another name on his record, and he's got a solid base of opponents he's beat. And if he beats him easily, people will say, oh, he's beating someone who's past his prime or can't handle his weight or something, or no near as good as he used to be or whatever, but it's still a big name. And I do think after this he should fight Golovkin, because realistically Golovkin isn't getting any younger and he's at a peak of his powers. I know he did get sort of exposed slightly in the Cobrook fight, but that'll be a massive fight. Alvarez has got literally a whole country behind him in Mexico, and like he's a popular HBO, everything. He's got all the fundamentals. Like he's been a champion. He's been seen around the world millions of times. Golovkin, of course, is the not like the pay-per-view star, but like he's got the title. He's got the punching power. He's got the not the charm or that sort of thing, but like he's got a record. He's sort of the most feared person at the minute. And if Alvarez went in there, believing in himself, and he could do it, and he went back to, he had a good game plan and everything, I think he could pull it off. But to beat out Chavez Jr., Alvarez has got to go in there, use his speed, use the power, and hit him everywhere he can, head body, because in the Arizona Llama fight, he didn't really go to the head, and I know he got away with the victory, and the body shots were good. And I do think that might have worked then, but I do think now, like, he can go, if he goes in the same approach he had for the James Kirkland fight, for example, I'm not sure how it would go, because Chavez is obviously a lot more stronger and more tougher. But if he goes in like that, more offense, not thinking about defense, go in there and just tries just to knock him out straight away, that might not work. But if he goes in there aggressively and with the right game plan, I think he can pull it off. Same with Chavez Jr. If he goes in there, the right mentality, the weight's good, and he believes in himself, and he thinks this could be my ticket back. I think he could do it. So it's a big 50-50 fight, but I am going for Alvarez because he's younger, he's fresher, more active, and I think personally, obviously, he believes in himself more compared to Chavez Jr., where he sort of like needs to pick himself up more. But then they both got a good reason to win this fight in various reasons. But I do think if Alvarez wins this fight, he needs to fight Golovkin, because then if he beats him, he's picked up all the belts, yeah, that's great, but he's beaten the person that everyone says in the minute is the most feared person, most avoided person, and he says he wants to be the best pound for pound fighter in the world. If he beats Golovkin, that's a massive stake to say he's beaten those sort of people. And if Chavez Jr. wins this fight, I'm not sure where he's going to campaign, because he's so heavy. He could be a light heavyweight, middleweight, super middleweight. He's got the freedom to bounce up and down in weights. But I do think he could fight the likes of, if it's possible, Andre Ward, Kovalev. I know that's light heavyweight, but super middleweight. There's opportunities in 3 different weight classes. But I do think, like I said, if he believes in himself and he's got the right mentality, right game plan, the right weight, which is obviously a major factor for him as well, I think he can do it, because he's a strong fighter, he's tough, he's got a good chin, he ain't going to go down easily, because obviously he's Mexican as well. Alvarez, of course, like I said, similar scenario. If he goes into the right game plan, right tactics, he can win this fight quite easily, because he is a good boxer. 7 issues in the past have been a problem, but maybe that might carry on throughout his whole career. But if he knows he's blowing hard towards the end of the fight, maybe he might have to change tactics, of course, which you would expect. But time will tell. It's going to be a great fight, I think. It's on Box Nation as well. For any UK viewers who watch the video, if you don't know about it already, it's on Box Nation. So, of course, you can all tune in and watch it, which would be good. I'm definitely going to watch this fight, because I think it would be a great action fight, for generic fans, hardcore fans, or people who don't even want to watch boxing but might fancy something different. I think it would be a great fight for a variety of people. But anyway, give it a like and comment, and share your thoughts down below, and I'll see you in the next video.